Welcome to the Voices series, bringing insights from leaders in all forms of design. This is Kristina Goodrich of Design's Voice. I have the pleasure of interviewing Bob Schwartz, General Manager of Global Design for GE Healthcare and fellow member of IDSA. Bob, you have experience in a variety of organizations and structures. What have you observed about business culture and its effect on design?
I've worked in a number of corporate cultures, big ones, and actually in both for-profit and nonprofit environments. And in that arena, in some small nonprofits and some really large ones, trade associations, etc., charities, professional societies, and some big corporations like General Electric and Motorola and New Rubbermaid, Procter & Gamble among them. And I've sort of played it all kinds of ways. I found myself sometimes complying, being one of the corporate suits, as it were, trying to toe the line, trying to understand what the culture was and invest myself deeply into it. And then at other times, I sort of wore my Bob the Builder hat when I saw there was an opportunity to build an organization, or I had the opportunity to kind of play the role of the rebel, the outsider with the alien eyes, if you will, that can be a transformational character. And sometimes, while they tell you that's what they want, the culture there isn't ready for it. At other times, it is ready, and it's just a great and wonderful ride. Or maybe they don't know what they don't know, so you become somehow an instant authority, at least for a while, till they smell you out. I think in the case of GE, I got some really great advice from actually someone many of you will know, Tom Hirsch, the search consultant. I'm giving you some credit here, Tom. He said to me, Schwartz, the way you're going to survive in a big culture like GE, and it is a big, evolved culture with lots of processes, is to be 100% natural Bob all the time. And he said, and the more you act like you're from Venus, the more they'll probably like it. Now, I had a pretty interesting journey in my engagement with General Electric, and I actually wasn't really interested in going there. I was having a wonderful experience at Procter & Gamble, and they had asked me a couple of times. And on both occasions, I said, is design strategic? And the first time, they didn't know what I was talking about. And then, I don't know, fast forward a couple of years, and they came back, and they said, and I asked the question again, they said, well, we know what it is, but we don't know how to do it. So I sort of took this as some bait and imagined that maybe this was a place where I could kind of be 100% natural Bob, be a transformative character, be a bit of a rebel, respect the fact that I was working for a great company with a wonderful legacy, but sort of not do the deep cultural company immersion and mimic the behaviors that perhaps would make me less influential from what they brought me there to do, which was to bring innovation and to transform design from a very highly valued creative resource, which it's been for 65 years, into one that was a strategic driver of growth for the businesses. So that's the journey that I set upon. And what I did really was look for a willing partner, an unindicted co-conspirator in the beginning from another discipline, who perhaps was struggling with his own or her own transformative problem in their line of business or activity, and see if I could get an early win for myself and for the team, showing some of the tools and techniques that I wanted to bring to a General Electric. And I was able to do that in the person of a chief marketing officer who'd been trying to tell a story about brand architecture for a couple of years, change the way the company approached how it sold in its products, how it thought about segments in the market, how it thought about different levels of customers, developed markets, emerging markets, etc. And I said to him, you know, give me X amount of dollars, and it was some serious money. And instead of you trying to tell this story in PowerPoint, we're going to build a movie set. And we're going to take your audience, and we're going to put them on the hero's journey themselves. They're going to be the customer. And they're going to go on this journey. It's going to be all around them. And when they get to the end, you won't have to tell them what the answer is. They're going to know it. And this is a technique that we'd used very successfully, and they continue to at Procter & Gamble, where you kind of harness the power of story to get an idea across and immerse your audience in that story. Instead of telling them, let them live it. Instead of explaining to them what the consumer or the customer need is, let them experience it themselves and literally live in the shoes of the customer. So we did that to shorten the story a bit. And a CEO who he had been trying to convince for 18 months to sort of use this new approach to how we sell our products, how we frame them, how we think about markets and product development. He went through it on the first day of what became 1,000 people going through it over a couple of months. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, we're doing this. And it was very transformative. That was the pivotal moment. I needed that early win mm-hmm. to kind of show I'm bringing in things like storytelling and heroes' journeys and ensemble product development, improvisational theater techniques of, accepting and adding the ideas of others, all this kind of nonsense that you just don't find necessarily in a large technology-driven company where there's great marketeers who are trying to get the voice of the customer in there. It's not just all about leaping to the ideas. And we're able to do that, and that just kind of opened up the opportunity funnel. We began simply to do more and more of these kinds of things. I took all kinds of cross-functional teams, and we continue to, and immerse them in experiences that are unlike those they have been trained to do. The idea is to change behavior, to bond teams together. What we find in a lot of these situations is that the measure and reward systems for us, for design, may be different than someone in marketing or sales or finance or manufacturing. And as a result, we tend to build thicker walls around our silos because at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I need to do to be measured successfully and rewarded appropriately, as would my brothers and sisters in the other disciplines. So we sort of started to focus on the fact that if we're measured and rewarded differently, and if that message continues to come from the top of the company, there will always be these barriers to what we call in GE boundaryless collaboration. And the best work I've ever gotten to do in companies or in the nonprofit sector was to be able to work from the get-go with a cross-functional team. You guys have all heard this before, where everybody's an owner, everybody's a stakeholder, and we go through the same process together. We don't leap to the idea. We start with the unmet need. We start with bonding ourselves as a team. And then we go seek the unmet need. We translate that. And then we begin to figure out what's the problem we're trying to solve together. It's what they call in improv, in the Second City theater group, yes and. If you and I are doing an improv bit and you throw me a line and I don't immediately accept it and add to it, the bit dies. We don't have to try to be funny, and that wouldn't be funny. And it's the same thing in innovation. It's the same thing in collaboration. It's the same thing in being influential in a big culture. You've got to find ways to help your constituents, your colleagues, accept and add to each other's ideas instead of killing them immediately. It's a classic behavior. We all are guilty of it. And it's what we can learn from theatrical improvisation.
Thank you, Bob. I invite our viewers to watch part 2 of this interview for more insight into the challenges of transformative change. This is Kristina Goodrich of Design's Voice. Thank you for joining us.